What's up, everybody? Bill Colarulo back with another episode of Legal Hands to the Face. It's been a minute, but what a week. It is Super Bowl week. The Eagles are in the big game, and this is going to be a good one. There are so many matchups. There are so many storylines. We're going to talk about it all, and a big announcement. Legal Hands to the Face is here to stay. This is not just an Eagles podcast. This is a Philly sports podcast, and we're going to be coming to you every single week. But we're here to talk about the big game. Roll the intro.
This is the Legal Hands to the Face podcast with Bill Colarulo.
All right, everybody. Super Bowl 57 is only a few days away, and what a game this one should be. There are so many storylines, and these teams are so evenly matched. We have the Kansas City Chiefs, 14-3, versus the Philadelphia Eagles, 14-3. We have the top offense in the league, Kansas City Chiefs, versus the second top offense in the league with the Philadelphia Eagles. We have the Eagles defense, who had the most sacks in the NFL, and the Chiefs defense had the second most sacks in the NFL. We have the top passing offense in the league in the Chiefs going against the number one passing defense in the league for the Eagles. You have Kelsey versus Kelsey. You got Andy Reid coming back against his Philadelphia Eagles. You got Nick Sirianni, who was a young wide receivers coach for the Chiefs when Reid was hired, and Reid did not hire him. He let him go. And let's not forget, we have Patrick Mahomes versus Jalen Hurts, probably going to finish number 1 and number 2 in the MVP voting. And we have an Eagles team who had the most Pro Bowlers in the league with 8, going against the team with the second most Pro Bowlers with the Chiefs with 7. This is going to be an unbelievable game. And it's evidenced by, if you look at the line coming out of Vegas, they only have the Eagles as a 1.5 point favorite. One of the closest matchups we have seen in a long time before a Super Bowl. So some keys to the game. That's what I want to talk about today. What should we be focused on this week? Number one, it's going to be that number 1 Eagles pass defense versus that number 1 Chiefs pass offense. We know what Patrick Mahomes can do. That guy is the X factor. And we know what Travis Kelce can do from that tight end position. He's unbelievable. Maybe one of the best, definitely one of the best, maybe the best tight end to ever play the game. He's second in receiving yards in the playoffs, only behind Jerry Rice. It's unbelievable what this guy is doing. But what are the keys to this game? It's going to be what the Eagles have done all year long. They have to be able to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. The Eagles led the league with 70 sacks this year. But an interesting stat, the Chiefs gave up the 3rd least amount of sacks in the NFL. A lot of that has to do with their offensive line. They have a very good offensive line, but it also has to do with Patrick Mahomes. He is so shifty in that pocket. He's so crafty with being able to get rid of the ball. And not only throwing the ball away, he's able to make plays when it looks like the whole thing is falling apart. That guy can make plays. But let's look at the offensive line versus the defensive line. That left side of the Chiefs' offensive line is extremely good. They have 3 Pro Bowlers. Their left tackle is Orlando Brown. Their left guard is Joe Thuney. And their center, another Pro Bowler, is Creed Humphrey. That left side is solid. Their weak link, and I say weak link because they're not bad, they're just not as good as the left side, is the right side of the line where you have Trey Smith and Andrew Wiley. Positive for the Eagles. Who lines up on the left side of that defense? Who's going to be going against the Chiefs' right tackle? It's going to be Hassan Reddick, who really should have been in the conversation for the Defensive Player of the Year. He wasn't, but this guy has been lights out. He has been lights out all season long, and especially in the playoffs. It's very, very curious. I'm going to see, what is Andy Reid going to do? You know, you saw last week against the San Francisco 49ers in that NFC Championship game, on the hit that put Brock Purdy out of the game, Shanahan, who was an offensive genius according to everyone around the NFL, had a backup tight end trying to block Hassan Reddick one-on-one. That is a recipe for disaster. And what happened? Reddick beats him easily. Hits Purdy, fumble, Eagles ball, but more importantly, Purdy's out of the game, can't throw the ball. Now they're saying he needs surgery. He's going to be out probably 6 months. I don't think Andy Reid is going to not only put a tight end on Reddick, I think you're not going to see Reddick get a lot of one-on-one matchups, even against that right tackle Wiley. But it's going to be interesting to see, what does Reid do? A lot of offensive coordinators, the way that they will make sure that defensive end doesn't disrupt their whole passing game is they're going to keep a tight end in. And they're going to keep a tight end to try to double team with the tackle. Well, you're probably not going to see the Chiefs do a lot of that because Travis Kelce is too good of a weapon for them to keep him in. So you're either going to see a backup tight end, and they're going to come out in a lot of 2 tight end sets where Kelce will probably line up in the slot or even out wide, and they'll have a tight end and the tackle try to block Reddick. But you're probably also going to see a lot of running back chipping Reddick. You're not going to see Reddick probably have a lot of one-on-ones against that right tackle. So it'll be interesting to see, number one, what do the rest of the defensive line do? This is going to be a game where, although Reddick has been your stud, although he has the most sacks on the team, we had 3 other players with double-digit sacks. They were the first team in NFL history to have 4 players with 10 or more sacks. This game will be won by those other players. Reddick is going to take a lot of attention. It's going to be up to those other guys to win their one-on-ones. They have to win their one-on-ones. You got to see Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, even Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph. They have to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. And if you can get pressure from that interior, that disrupts everything. So that's going to be a big key to this game. Reddick is going to get a lot of attention. Your other guys have to be able to win their one-on-ones to put pressure on Mahomes. And when they do that, he's going to look for his main man, Travis Kelce. And I am really, really curious as to what Jonathan Gannon does here. How do you guard Travis Kelce? He is so darn good. You really are not going to be able to shut this guy down. But I think if I'm Jonathan Gannon, I'm going into this game and I'm saying somebody else has to beat us. Anybody but Travis Kelce is going to beat us. There are other skilled players on offense. They don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. They don't have these big-time wide receivers. Their wide receiving crew, Juju Smith-Schuster, okay, above average, not great. Valdez-Scantling from Green Bay, they got another guy, okay, not great. And then they picked up Tony this year from the Giants. Okay, not great. Make those receivers beat you. Do not let Travis Kelce win. But how do you do that? You can't match up with him one-on-one. He is going to he's too big if you put a safety on him, and he's too fast if you put a linebacker on him. So what does Jonathan Gannon do here? I would like to see him put both of them on him. Have a linebacker jamming him off the line. Have a safety over the top of him playing real close to the line. Maybe Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. That's who I would like to see them put on there. Maybe have Kazir White on the line with him. Do not let him get a clean release. Be all over him and have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson over the top. Double team Kelce. Make these receivers beat you. That is the key to this game. The defensive line has to get pressure on Mahomes, and then the linebackers in the secondary are going to have to make sure Kelce doesn't win. That is the key as a Philadelphia Eagles defense. But there's another big key to this game. Just like any game, but even more so in this one, turnovers. Interesting stat. When the Kansas City Chiefs do not turn the ball over, they are undefeated this year. When the Philadelphia Eagles do not turn the ball over, they are undefeated this year. But in the 3 losses, the Eagles turned the ball over 9 times. There were 4 turnovers in that Dallas game. There were 4 turnovers in the game they lost to the Commanders. Ball security is so important. But if you look at the stats, the Chiefs do turn the ball over. I mean, the Eagles finished in the top 5 in turnovers. And 9 of them, like I said, were in their 3 losses. But they finished in the top 5. The Chiefs, on the other hand, had the 8th most turnovers this year. So they do turn the ball over. That is going to be key. You got to win the turnover battle in this game. That changes everything. And if you do get a turnover, you got to be able to put up points. You can't waste opportunities if you turn the ball over. Fumbles, that all comes down to ball security. You have to make sure, we hear Nick Sirianni preaching it all the time. They got to have that ball tucked. They have to make sure they're covering the top of the ball. Have it close into their chest. Do not let it get away from you. Cover that ball up when you're getting tackled. You cannot afford to fumble the ball in this game. And when we're talking about the quarterbacks, Mahomes and Hurts, you got to be appropriately aggressive. Take what's there. If it's not, put it in a position where only your receiver can catch the ball. The Eagles, they love those 50-50 balls, especially with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. These guys have the ability to go up and win on those what they call 50-50 balls, where there's a 50-50 chance for them and the defensive back. But Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, their tight end Dallas Goedert, and even Quez Watkins, Zach Pascal, when this ball is thrown, if it's a 50-50 ball, you got to make sure you either catch it or you knock it down. You cannot afford to turn the ball over against this team. And the Chiefs, same thing for them. They cannot afford to turn the ball over. But they do. So with the Eagles, talking about our first key of the game, can get pressure on Mahomes. Take Kelsey away. Force Mahomes to throw that ball into maybe a tighter window that doesn't want to throw it to. Make some things happen. Turn the ball over. You got a big chance to win this game. And then there's another key to this game that a lot of people are not talking about. Everyone is talking about the Eagles' defensive line and all the sacks they had. Well, let's look at that Kansas City defensive line. The Kansas City defense finished second in the NFL in sacks, only behind our team. But this team can put pressure on the quarterback. Their defensive tackle is a stud. He is a Pro Bowler. He had a ton of sacks coming from the middle. And the interesting thing is when you're looking at Chris Jones, unlike other big-time sack leaders the Eagles have faced, when they went against Nick Bosa, when they go against Micah Parsons, these are guys that are playing outside or off the ball. Chris Jones is a defensive tackle. He's going to be on the inside. So what a lot of times this Eagles offense, they like to do with that run-pass option is they're able to run it right at Nick Bosa. They're able to run it right at Micah Parsons because when Jalen Hurts puts the ball in the belly of that running back, that defensive end has to make a decision now. Are they going to crash down to take on the running back? Are they going to remain outside to take the quarterback, Jalen Hurts, if he keeps it and runs around the outside? And by doing that, they were able to neutralize Nick Bosa. They were able to neutralize Micah Parsons in a lot of the aspects of their offense. Chris Jones is different. Chris Jones plays defensive tackle. He's going to be right in the middle of that defense. And it's going to be Kelsey. It's going to be our guards, Sayamala and Landon Dickerson. They're going to have to make sure that they do not let Chris Jones disrupt this game. If the Chiefs can get pressure from the interior, it's going to cause a lot of problems for this Eagles offense. And that is going to be a huge, huge matchup. They were also in the top 10 against the run. Now, we've seen our Eagles offensive line able to move anybody. That 49ers defense, best against the run, they had no problems. So hopefully they're going to be able to run the ball against this Chiefs defense, but they're only 19th against the pass. So you would hope that we're going to be able to throw the ball early, establish the run late, but that's an interesting matchup to watch. This Chris Jones is a stud, and I'm just hopeful. We have a Hall of Famer in Jason Kelsey. Simwala and Dickerson have played really, really well this year. Dickerson had that elbow injury last week against the Niners. Hopefully he's healthy, but they're going to have to make sure Chris Jones does not get pressure from the interior. But this should be an unbelievable matchup. What I think is going to happen, I'm going to give you my predictions now, is I think you're going to see, the Eagles like to talk about iron sharpening iron. Every week they go against the best defense in the league with the Eagles, and the defense goes against the best offense in the league. If you look at the Eagles roster and you match it up to the Chiefs roster, the Eagles are a better team all the way down the line with a couple of question marks, tight end and quarterback. And, Jalen Hurts is unbelievable, but Patrick Mahomes is a magician. This guy, this is his third Super Bowl. He's won one. He's lost one. and he just keeps performing at an extremely high level. But I think at the end of the day, something's got to give. I think you're going to see that defensive line for the Eagles is going to be able to get pressure. They're going to be able to get sacks, and they're going to force a couple of turnovers. The Eagles will win the turnover battle, and if they win the turnover battle, I think they win the game. Because now flipping to the other side, this Eagles offensive line has been able to do what they've wanted all season long. You have Jordan Mailata at left tackle, Isaac Sayomala at right guard, Landon Dickerson at left tackle, Lane Johnson at right tackle. I mean, you got Jason Kelsey in the middle. I mean, you have an unbelievable offensive line that they have shown against the 49ers. It doesn't matter how good your defense is. We're going to be able to do what we want to do. And I think what you're going to see is you're going to see the Eagles come out early. I think they're going to put up points on offense, and I think they're going to run the ball to control the game, to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hand. But this is going to be a close one. I mean, a lot of Eagles fans, this is the first time in maybe forever where every game you almost feel no stress. I mean, it's been pretty easy this season. It's been surreal. You know, it's been a pretty easy season when you look at who they've played and the games that they had, and then this playoffs. I mean, they dominated the Giants. They dominated the Niners. This is not going to be a game they dominate. This is going to be a close game, but I think in the end, the Eagles' defensive line and the Eagles' offensive line are too good, and they will win the game. And the ironic thing there is Andy Reid, when he came to the Eagles in 1999, that was his philosophy. That is what he taught Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman on how you build a team. You build the team from the inside out. You put assets on your offensive and defensive line. You win the game in the trenches. And it's unbelievable that they've stuck to that model, and I really think that that is going to be the reason they win this game. Yeah, we have great skilled position players. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert. These guys are skilled. We have a great secondary in Darius Slay, James Bradbury, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. But where this game is going to be won is with the big guys, the offensive line and the defensive line. And that is a philosophy that Andy Reid instilled, and it's just ironic that all these years later, the Eagles still have that model, and that is what's going to make them win this game. And a big X factor, you know, it's going to be the coaching. Andy Reid is a great coach. He is a great preparation coach. But we have seen time and time again where he lacks, and that is game day decisions, clock management, and decisions on game day. And that is something that I have been so impressed with Nick Sirianni this year, is his decision-making has been unbelievable all year. He's been appropriately aggressive. He's challenged when he's needed to challenge. They've gone for it when they should have gone for it. I mean, he's just making great decisions. They seem to always have their timeouts. They always have their challenges, you know, and they're able to put up points at the end of halves. That is what good teams do, is, you know, we see what they like to do. They like to defer if they win the toss, try to put up points at the end of the half, get the ball to start the second half, and put up points again. So I think this game, you know, there's going to be some decisions, coaching, that's going to win or lose this game. But, you know, don't put it past Andy Reid. He usually has something up his sleeve. I mean, this is a guy, he onside kicks, trick plays, you know, different things. But at the end of the day, although he's young, Nick Sirianni, I think we're going to see him and Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator, outperform this Chiefs coaching staff. But I am excited for this game. I am predicting the Eagles win, getting their second Super Bowl in team history, and we're going to be all parading down Broad Street, and it's going to be unbelievable. And if they do win, I'm curious, how does Jason Kelsey top that speech from 2018? We will see. But listen, guys, I am back. We know, like I said, it's been a little bit of time, but we are back. Legal Hands to the Face, a Philly sports podcast. If you're entertained, you want to keep listening, we're going to be coming to you guys every week. Guests, different information. Please subscribe. We're where you find all your podcasts. You can also say to your smart speaker, play Legal Hands to the Face, and it will play. So I'm looking forward to talking to you guys, and I'm looking forward to an unbelievable game. Go Birds.